So in this video we're looking at the 1992 Tim Burton sequel to the 1989 Batman film. We're looking at Batman Returns. Batman Returns is a 1992 sequel to Batman, directed again by Tim Burton and written by Sam Hamm and Daniel Waters. Michael Keaton reprises his role as Batman, with Danny DeVito playing another one of his arch-enemies, the Penguin, and we have Michelle Pfeiffer playing Catwoman. The story begins at Christmas time in Gotham. Tucker and Esther Cobblepot have become parents of their firstborn son Oswald. They are disgusted by their newborn baby as he is born disabled and is heavily disfigured. He is kept in a cage and they throw him into the Gotham sewer, where he is found by a group of penguins and is raised underground by the family of penguins. 33 years later, millionaire businessman Max Schreck is planning to build a power station to provide energy to Gotham. During a speech by Max, the crowd become under attack by a gang. Batman appears and fights the majority off. However, Max is captured and taken to the Penguin's lair. He has spent years collecting his shredded papers and is blackmailing Max in return to help him come back to the surface. Max's secretary, Selina Kyle, is looking through some papers and accidentally comes across some incriminating files. She is caught by Max and pushed out of the window. Many canopies break her fall, and she awakes and becomes Catwoman. The Penguin stages a kidnapping of the mayor's baby and emerges from the sewer with the baby like he rescued him. This gives him support, and he asks for access to the Hall of Records to trace his family. Bruce is wary of his motives and investigates further. He discovers the Red Triangle gang were a disgraced circus troupe who were shut down after the disappearance of children during their performances. Max persuades Penguin to run for mayor so he can eliminate his competitors and build his power station unopposed. Penguin also sabotages the Batmobile. However, Batman takes control and manages to record his voice and sabotages his campaign speech, forcing him to the sewers. His true motive is then revealed, and the Penguin plans to capture and kill all of the firstborn sons of Gotham out of revenge of what happened to him. Batman foils the Penguin's plan and defeats him, and Penguin ends up dying. Bruce reveals himself to Selina and tries to persuade her not to kill Max. He is unsuccessful, and she murders him with a taser stun gun next to an electricity diode, causing an explosion. Later in the car with Alfred, Bruce thinks he sees Catwoman, but it is a cat silhouette in the alleyway. The film ends with Bruce saying Merry Christmas to Alfred, and on the rooftops you can see the bat signal appear and Catwoman stood on one of the rooftops. I really like the backstory in this that's been given to the Penguin, similar to Bruce, how they lost their parents at a very young age, and at the beginning as well you see Bruce empathising with Oswald because of his traumatic circumstances. However, Bruce chose to avenge criminals to make sure people didn't suffer his same fate, whereas Penguin wants everyone to suffer his fate and go through what he went through, basically. Yeah, so the film's another great Tim Burton movie. Michael Keaton is excellent as Batman and Bruce Wayne. Like he was in the previous Batman film, he's just made himself a better Batman. And it was always brilliant as Bruce Wayne, I thought, in the two films. But I think this one, he plays Batman a lot better. And Danny DeVito's performance as Penguin is brilliant as well. It's a complete U-turn to what Burgess Meredith's performance was in the 1960s. This new kind of Penguin. I mean, watching it now as an adult, you didn't pick up how seedy and pervy he really was compared to the other ones, like the way he's with the women on his campaign office and the way he's with Catwoman. You didn't pick up on that when you were younger, but you did now, and it's quite uncomfortable to watch, really. But brilliant performance by Danny DeVito. I think Michelle Pfeiffer was a brilliant choice for Catwoman. She plays her really well, and the backstory they did with Catwoman with Selina Kyle I thought was great as well. I mean, in the original Batman film they never really showed who Catwoman was. She was always just Batman's nemesis, but this really gave another level to Catwoman, that she was sort of like an anti-hero, basically like a cat really, not really loyal to anyone. What served her best interests she was loyal to. I mean, I love cats, but they can be like that as well, so it was really cool showing how Catwoman was like that, like saving people but for her own interests and just wanting her to get revenge on Max. That was what she really wanted. I was always confused when I was younger if Max killed her when she fell from the office building, but I've looked into it and spoke to one of my friends who's a really big Batman fan, and we both agreed that when she fell from the building, the canopies of the office broke her fall, and she probably just banged her head and had a really bad head injury, which made her into Catwoman. I mean, I can't explain all the gymnastics and how she knows how to make bombs and things, and how she has the 9 lives, but I don't think DC really do undead characters at that time frame as well. I know Tim Burton does it a lot with Beetlejuice and Corpse Bride, but I think it was in the Batman universe, it was not really a undead character, and with Selina and Bruce storyline, I think they didn't want to really do that. I think the only criticism of the film itself is sometimes the story can be overcomplicated with the Penguin's intentions, and when I was a kid I didn't really understand what was going on, and now when I'm older and read into it with the circus gang and with Bruce looking into it, I think with Max Schreck and Catwoman it sort of goes off on quite a few tangents, so you've got to really pay attention to the actual dialogue of the film. So if can't just one of the films that you sat watching on your phone, you've got to really pay attention to the entire film. The ending also leaves it open to a sequel with Catwoman still alive on top of the rooftops. They really could have brought her back. Obviously, this was the last Tim Burton Batman movie, and it went in a completely different direction, but it really could have opened it up to more sequels further down the line. I mean, with the film being set at Christmas, it was ideal for Tim Burton. He could put his snow in, which he always does, and there's a lot of references with the circus gang, which shows Nightmare Before Christmas. And I know he wrote the books and he was involved as a producer on the Nightmare Before Christmas film, but a lot of it seems really familiar. And with Danny Elfman's Christmas score in the Batman theme, it just seems so familiar in some of the parts, like when they kidnap Santa Claus in the film. It just seems really similar. And also when Max is hung on in a cage in the Penguin's lair, it really looks like the Oogie Boogie Man's lair when he captures Santa Claus. So you can tell there's a lot of inspiration that went on to Nightmare Before Christmas, which I believe was released a year or 2 years later. For storyline, it's got to be one of the darkest storylines in the original 4 Batman films, and obviously because of this they went to a more PG approach for the last 2 films, but I think it's brilliant how they did this. And obviously with you can see Batman setting fire to a person with his thrusters on the Batmobile, and how ruthless the Penguin is wanting to murder firstborn children, and that it's really good how they did that. So I mean it's a great film. I mean, in my opinion it's not as good as the original Batman. I just think the story sort of slows down in one or too many places, and there's not as much action as there could have been from the original Batman film, and I think there's a lot more needless dialogue than it was in the original. But I mean, as it's bits, my favourite bit is the Penguin's school of driving when he's trying to get the thing off his the tracking device off the Batmobile, and he's riding through Gotham. It's brilliant. And when he's sabotages the Penguin's speech, although at one point he is scratching a CD like a record, or a vinyl record on the turntable, which would never happen with a laser, but we'll let that one go. I love the sort of references in the film as well, like the masquerade ball, and only Bruce and Selina are not wearing masks because the real faces of the masks that they hide behind each day. I think that's really cool, and how Paul Rubens, who plays Pee Wee Herman, plays the Penguin's dad at the beginning, and he's dressed the way Burgess Meredith played the Penguin, with the monocle and the suit and the long cigarette. And there's also a bit where they try to give Penguin one and he pushes it away, sort of signifying that that's the old Penguin, this is the new Penguin. I thought that was really cool. There's some amazing dialogue in the film, like really funny, where Batman unmasks himself and Max asks why is Bruce Wayne dressed like Batman, and Michelle and Catwoman replies, because he is Batman. I think that's really funny. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good bits. In my opinion, it's not as good as the original Batman, but it's still a great film, and it's definitely still worth a watch. I guess that's it for this week's review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know what you thought of Batman Returns and the whole thing. Is it a Christmas film? Yes, it is. Definitely. Watch it every Christmas, along with Die Hard and Lethal Weapon 1. That's my opinion anyway. Okay, so leave a like and subscribe, let me know, and I'll see you soon in another video.